free. 1-866-928-3310. And we'll send you out a no obligation information kit absolutely free. 866-928-3310. The CFRN Emini Futures Cast is now on Stitcher. Listen to us on your iPhone, Android phones, BlackBerry, and WebOS phones. Stitcher is smart radio for your phone. Find it in your app store or at Stitcher.com. Stitcher Smart Radio, the smarter way to listen to radio.
Are you ready, Steve? Andy? Yeah! Bert? Well, all right, fellas. Let's go!
You're listening to CFRN, the Christian Financial Radio Network.
Today's broadcast is brought to you by Audible. Get a free audiobook download at www.audibletrial.com/CFRN. Over 85,000 titles. Choose from mystery, romance, religion, science, technology, business, New York Times bestsellers, even children's books. You name it, Audible has it. With 85,000 titles to choose from, you're sure to find the perfect audiobook for yourself or to give as a gift, and it's absolutely free. Just point your browser to audibletrial.com/CFRN. That's audibletrial.com/CFRN. And become a part of the audiobook revolution by downloading your free audiobook today. audibletrial.com/CFRN.
Hey, trader, want to get rich quick? Well, good luck with that. If, on the other hand, you actually want to learn how to trade, the place to be is www.cfrn.net. Tune in Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. Eastern for our daily devotional, and then spend the next 3 hours learning how it's done from professional traders who actually trade for a living. That's www.cfrn.net. Every trading day from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern. CFRN, a community of believers who trade for a living.
Good afternoon, traders, and welcome back to the CFRN Emini Futures Cast. This is the daily broadcast of Indeterminate Length, where we discuss all things Emini, along with some really big ideas on the finer points of trading gold, bonds, crude, sugar, the euro, and even T-bills. Joining us today from our studios in Boston, Mr. Michael Borth. From our trading desk in Chicago, Mr. Burton Schlichter. Now, to get things started, let's go to our host and founder in Studio A, overlooking South Mountain, America's largest city park. Here's Dwayne.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back. Today's Wednesday, 3rd day of January, 2018. And today, unlike yesterday, we are running on all cylinders for the moment. You know, yeah. Yesterday was just weird. I felt so out of sync with everything, and plus I had computer issues, and I had other things on my mind. I'm only human, right? Okay. Happy Wednesday. Wayne Jett will be joining us today, and I think John will be here. He's had some issues, and I won't go into any details, but I'll let him do that if he cares to, if he makes it on today. But I did check with Wayne. He'll be coming, so that's good. And to all of you who have come today, allow me to welcome you from the very bottom of my heart. If it wasn't already afternoon for most of you, I would say top of the morning from the bottom of my heart. I could say top of the afternoon from the bottom of my heart, but see, nobody says top of the afternoon, just top of the morning, so we're going to scratch that. We'll talk hump day, right? Depending upon your time zone, you are already over the hump and on the downward slide into the weekend. Yeah, that's what happens on a 4-day work week. The S&P is on a rampage. We'll talk about that in a minute. And the Dow is not. Okay. And we know that those two typically run hand in hand. So who's right and who's going to have to catch up to the other? Well, we'll talk about that too. If you're returning, welcome back. If you're here for the first time, an extremely special welcome to you. We are so glad to have you in our audience today. We're now in our second decade of broadcast history, so please, by all means, do pencil us in to your day planner for the next decade. Okay. Now, if you cannot see the chart I have up, two ways to solve it. Go to the home page, cfrn.net. On the right-hand side of the page, click the big microphone, follow the instructions. You'll be registered in 30 seconds all the way through the end of the month. That means you join the show every day with one-click access. Okay? The other option, go to youtube.com/cfrn/live. And when we're live, that's where you'll find us broadcasting live. Now, I used to have a monitor that allowed me to monitor both the main chat box and the YouTube chat box. I haven't been able to do that lately, so if some of you have sent me messages through that chat box, I apologize. I'm going to try to get that squared away today so that I'll be able to go back to monitoring both at the same time, because I think that's important, right? As you can see from the chart I have up. Now, once you get to that YouTube page, if you bookmark it, then bang, you don't have to register anymore. You just go there and hang out. Oh, and somebody yesterday, I was emailing with one of the coin owners, and he said, I'm not always able to join the broadcast, and I haven't figured out how to do it on my smartphone. So, let me give you a couple of options if you're attempting to enjoy the broadcast from a smartphone or even a tablet, perhaps. You can download the free GoToWebinar, and it just works. Okay. You can also, on your smartphone, go to youtube.com/cfrn/live, and it just works. Okay. If you only want to listen to the audio portion and you don't plan to look at the charts, couple options. Go to our homepage, cfrn.net, where it says listen live. Click that. You'll get the audio. If you have the TuneIn Radio app installed on your smartphone, and I mean, if you don't have TuneIn Radio installed on your smartphone, it's not really a smartphone. It's like a B student, B minus. You got to get TuneIn Radio on your smartphone. Now, some people go, oh, I'm a iHeart Radio person. Okay. Well, somebody's got to do it. TuneIn Radio, you can't beat it. It's truly outstanding, and we've been on there for many years. When you open your TuneIn Radio app for the first time, just search CFRN. Bing, we pop right to the top, and away you go. All right. So, yeah, that's all I got. It's been a great show. Thanks so much for no, I'm kidding. We got a lot to cover today. Like I said, Wayne's coming, and I hope John will make it today, overcome the obstacles. I've emailed him a couple times, haven't heard back, so we'll just be patient. Now, let's take a quick look at the numbers around the world. These are the cash markets. We'll get into the futures shortly, and the crypto shortly. Okay. The Dow Jones Industrials cash market up 49.5 points. NASDAQ up 42 points. Now the NASDAQ crossed the 7,000 mark yesterday for the first time in history. Look at that thing go. Good Lord. We've already blown out the highest weekly trading zone, I think. Let me double check. Get to the right page in my notebook here. Yeah. Oh yeah, we blew it out big time. Well, I guess I never saw that coming. But we'll see where we end up for the week. Okay. Now the cash market crossed 7,000, but I see. Is that correct? NASDAQ last 7,049.55, but the futures are only at 6,580. Somehow that just doesn't refresh my cash market page. Let's see if it brings me back different numbers. No, it says NASDAQ cash is at 7,050. Now I don't believe it closed above 7,000 yesterday. It did hit it in intraday trading, but today, well, actually we haven't, on the futures we haven't crossed it at all yet. Alright, we'll get to the bottom of that. S&P 500 up 12 points. That's almost 0.5%. And the NASDAQ being up 43 points. That's over 0.5%. The Russell 2000's, the red, down a little over a point. And in the commodity basket, crude oil up $1.11, trading 61.48 last. That's almost 2%. And we get inventory numbers tomorrow. Typically we get them on Wednesday, but because of the Monday holiday, it gets pushed forward to Thursday. Gold up $2.10, trading 13.1820 last. And if I'm not mistaken, we're real close to blowing out the highest weekly trading zone on gold. Now, that happened last week. Is it going to happen 2 weeks in a row? I don't know. If it does, will I change the way that I do gold? No. Same thing with the S&P, okay? I mean, the S&P is tiptoeing in on the highest weekly trading zone, and we're only 2 trading days into the week, but we only have 2 left. Now, will I change anything there? No. We've been doing the weekly trading zones since December 14th of 2009. Okay, you can go back, you can look at the charts, you can Google it up, you can read articles, see old charts, lots of stuff. And when the market does something unusual, okay, see, we're the constant integer because the market's always doing a little something different. It does the same old thing every day in a little different kind of way, if that makes sense, and I hope it does. So, no, we won't change a thing. If I were to get spanked 2 months in a row on the zones by blowing out the top or blowing out the bottom, I still wouldn't change because I've got, goodness, 9, 17, well, I got 7 years of daily monitoring, and so it would probably take 6 months of being not correct for me to change my methodology. So anyway, if it changes, you'll be the first to know. Okay, moving to the Asian markets, the Nikkei down 19 points at the close. Shanghai up 22 points at the close. That's a little over 0.5%. And the Hang Seng, which was up 500 points yesterday, it's up another 45 today. Okay. And in Europe, color of the day there, brilliant green. FTSE up 23 points. The DAX closed up 107 points. That's almost 1%. The CAC followed suit, closing up 42.5 points, and that is almost 1%. So, the year is off to a start. So, Asia was green with the exception of the Nikkei. Europe's all green. And the U.S. is green with the exception of the Russell 2000, which is only down 1.25 points. And that could change most certainly by the end of the day. Okay? Now, I heard something last night as I was listening to the news. My wife's become a real news hound. She watches a show every day. I hate to say religiously, but on a regular basis. She first watches Outnumbered, which are, I think, the four ladies, and then they have the hashtag one lucky guy who sits in the middle, and he's somebody different every day. She really enjoys that show. She's fascinated by how smart some of these people are. I said, well, honey, don't forget, a lot of the time they're reading off the teleprompter. She goes, yeah, but sometimes they aren't. And I go, well, okay, they're smart. No, that's why they're on TV. She enjoys that and the Ingraham angle, which comes on at night. Some of these people, I don't know how they do it, man. They do radio in the morning, they do TV at night, personal appearances. Goodness. Now, they're no Ryan Seacrest, of course, because there's like 4 of him. He's been cloned multiple times. He had no choice. I mean, he's got to keep up with the Kardashians. He's got to do his radio show. He's got to be the spokesmodel on America's Got Talent. No, not America's Got Talent. American Idol. That's it. But last night, as I was sitting with my wife, as she enjoyed she had missed Outnumbered, and so we were watching the recording, which is good because you can fast forward through the commercials. But they were talking about what Kim Jong-un said in his speech, and he said, I have the nuclear button on my desk every day. Well, that didn't give me the willies. Here's what gave me the willies. He said, that's not a threat, it's a reality. So I leaned even further back in my Barker Lounger and I said, oh my goodness. And then they go into talking about, the $1 trillion that Trump would like to spend on infrastructure. And my wife goes, so we spend $1 trillion, we build out all this tricked up stuff, and then this guy wakes up, with a hangover or a headache and decides to hit the red button, Kim Jong. And our infrastructure that we just spent $1 trillion on, it's like, poof. That's if he's telling the truth. How do we not know if he's telling the truth? Don't we have, like, these intelligence agencies? Which I know they've proved they aren't super intelligent, but I don't know, they're supposed to know stuff like that. We certainly seem to know an awful lot about what's going on in Iran with these protests, and I'd love to hear your comments. Should we be getting involved in that? The president says if they don't stop arresting the protesters, and something like 21 protesters and even a child has been murdered by this totalitarian regime because the people are protesting in the streets. See, Barack Obama gave them all these, well, he gave them cash, he gave them a nuclear weapon, and so, or enriched plutonium, and he thought, by sucking up to them that they would behave, right? Well, it wasn't 10 days after Obama blessed them with all that cash, unmarked cash, in different currencies, in suitcases, flown under the cover of darkness, and the nuclear power. It wasn't 10 days, they had our sailors on their knees for propaganda purposes taking pictures. So they really appreciated what Obama did. Now, is the Trump administration, is what they're doing working? I think so, because the people in the street are protesting. They're going, hey, wait a minute. You just got all this stuff from the U.S., and we're still in the streets, and we're still hungry, and we still don't have jobs, and we don't care about the West Bank. We don't care about Lebanon. We don't care about Syria. Well, we actually care about us and our families. And they're going after the Ayatollah. Now, somebody out there who's really good in history, because I wasn't really paying attention to the news and history back when this happened. But Iran used to have a king, right? The Shah of Iran, I think he was called. And he got deposed or something. And the Ayatollah, it went from being a politically ran country to a religiously ran country. And the people are, they said you couldn't say this on Fox News because the one guy kept saying it. But the people are pissed. I mean, they really are. And rightfully so. They've lived under this totalitarian regime for so long. And my goodness, the billions of dollars that have gone into the pockets of the elite of Iran, none of it's trickling down to the people. Zip, zero. They are using some of it to rebuild their military, which is creating an instability in the Mideast. But I could go on, but you'd probably rather I didn't, so I'll just stop there. But the fact that this guy, Kim Jong, who has a very murky genetic pool, is sitting at his desk every day, and he has the nuclear button on his desk. It was just the way he said it. It's not a threat. It's just reality. Have you seen those guys march? Where in God's name did they pick that up? The Bolshoi Ballet? I mean, I was in the Navy. You probably don't think of sailors as marching much, but trust me, in boot camp, we marched an awful lot, and in A school and other places. But when you're on the ship, you don't do any marching. But that jackboot thing they do with their legs kicked out, and I'm not trying to be, I don't be racist or anything. That's not racist. Whatever. Politically incorrect. Well, yeah, I do. That just looks ridiculous. But he loves to parade them. He loves to drive them tanks up and down the street with the missiles on them. If we don't do something, he is. Now, he, yes, says he wants to make nice with South Korea, reopen a border hotline. The offer came a day after his New Year's speech, in which he called for dialogue and, said all the stuff about the nuclear button on his desk. President Trump, of course, yesterday, rather than extending any kind of, he just mocked him. Remember, he calls him the little rocket man. Trump tweeted that he too has a nuclear button, but it is much bigger and more powerful than Kim's. I mean, he could have tweeted something like, "I'm glad you've come to your senses." I mean, but we're talking about minds bigger than yours. Whoa. Didn't we leave that in high school? Apparently not. All right. Okay. All that and much more to come. But first, we're going to take a detour over to Michael, who will grace us with a recap of everything that happened today in the live training room. Michael, are you still there?
I am here.
I did not realize the lateness of the hour, but...
yeah, well, we got a late start.
Late start. I had a lot of clever things to say.
Yes.
I milked it
Clever.
for all I could. Yeah. And now it's your turn.
Okay. Now it's my turn.
Now you be clever.
All right. Here we go. There's a limit to my cleverness today.
Don't start with the I can'ts, okay?
No, I'm not saying I can't.
We're the people of the I can'ts.
Yes,
No.
we can. We can. We will.
He had a crash. He had a crash during the live training room today, and so he lost his little marky marks. But he's got a photographic memory, so he's going to walk you through it anyway.
I am.
He's also going to tell you how you, a civilian, could be in our live training room tomorrow, learning what we believe to be the simplest methodology on planet Earth for trading Emini Futures and or / hyphen ... Bitcoin futures. I'm not going to say another word about that. It's all yours, Mike.
Okay. Here we go. All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Let's start out.
Unless Kim hits the button before you finish, I'll be here when you're done.
Okay. And even if he does, I think we'll still have time for you to come back. So
yeah, he's probably got targets
okay.
ahead of Phoenix on the list. I'm guessing. I don't know.
Yeah, and probably ahead of North Carolina. All right, so let's bring this over. Now, here we go. Good afternoon, everyone. Today is Wednesday, the 3rd day of January, 2018. Let's see. If you have not taken a free trial with us, then just go to the homepage here at cfrn.net, and right up here at the top where it says sign up for the CFRN live training room, 100% free trial, user indicators, learn our strategy, click here. When you click there, you will be brought to this page right here, where we simply ask for your email, your first name, and how you found us. Then you hit the submit button and you'll be sent a confirmation link. You must click on the confirmation link. Okay? You must click on that link. If you don't click on that link, you will not get a free trial. All right? It's as simple as that. You will not get a free trial. And that's it. That's all you have to do to take the free trial. Once you click on that confirmation link, we'll send you all the information you need. All right? For 5 luxurious days in our live training room. Okay, so this is a spreadsheet. If you're going to read the spreadsheet, you're going to read all the CFTC risk disclosure stuff down at the bottom. Today, the 3rd of January, as I said already, it's Wednesday. We made 4 ticks in the Euro, 11 ticks in the Russell, 5 ticks in Crude. That comes out to $130 gross. Today took 45 minutes and 4 trades to get to the goal for the day. At that point, we're up $100 per contract gross, and we took a total of 6 trades. So on the month and on the year now, we're up $316.25. That's over 2 days, averaging $158 per day. Okay. Now, with an $8 commission, your net profit would be $212. And with a $5 commission, your net profit would be $251 so far. Okay? That's 2 days so far. Now, we'll get into what we did. I don't have all the arrows that I usually have, so I'm just going to have to point stuff out to you. All right? This right here was our first trade on Crude. It was a bounce off the BBC type. We took 5 ticks out of that. Got out right about here. And it continued up. That would have given us the goal for the day right there. But we got out because we were trailing our stop. And the green line had gotten up into the cycle. So that's why we got out. It continued up. And we did not have another trade set up until... Until way over here, and this was during the break. Okay, there was a bounce off the BBC right here. 61.44, pulled all the way back to 61.36, so that would have stopped out. That was during the break. Okay, and that was it on the Crude. Now I'm going to go through the markets that we actually did something with, okay? And I'm going to try to remember where we did something. Hey, look. That was after I had restarted. Okay, so Crude was the first thing. Then on the Russell, we had a short. I think we took a short right in here. We got a couple of ticks profit on that. Then we took another one right in here, I think. We got 3 ticks profit on that, bringing us to +5. Then over here, we had another one, and we took 6 ticks profit on that, bringing us to +11. And there was a long right here that we didn't take. A short right here that we didn't take. Somewhere in here we had a break even too. It wouldn't have been here because we did not put in a lower swing there. Change of direction, it might have been right in here where we had a break even. And that was at 10:30 when the market started to run up. Some long opportunities, change of direction, then nice shorting opportunity right there. We ended up missing another one there. Now, I don't know where the ES was with weekly trading zones during all this. So I'm thinking that we were right up above one because here I marked up a long, and right in here between, I think it was 10:56 and all the way over to here, that my computer was locked up and I was trying to straighten things out. Anyway, during the break, there was a shorting opportunity there and there and there and there. And that was it. That was it on the Russell. We ended up with plus 11 on the Russell. Now on the Euro, let's back this out. Okay. Let's see, on the Euro, I think it wasn't in there. I think it was right in here on the Euro. We had taken a short and got 4 ticks profit, and then it got really, really choppy. It was a slow grind down, but look at the cycle in the slingshot. The cycle's all messed up there in the slingshot. All right. Then it changed directions here, and it started to move up. There was a long opportunity right there, and another one right there. And then during the break, another one right there, and then it flattened right out. Okay, that was the Euro. So we've done gold, the Euro, crude, the Russell. Did we do gold? I think I skipped over gold. We didn't do anything with gold. That's probably why I skipped over it. Yeah, see, we weren't trending in here. And then it moved down, and there was a short off the BBC right there for a few ticks. And then it just wasn't trending. Okay, so gold's having a problem today. And the ES. Back to the ES. Now, I believe that these are the correct zones right now. The ES was just making, I mean, these are new all-time highs right here, right now. This is a new all-time high on the ES, right? 2709. When I saw it going up toward 2700 this morning, I said it's probably trying to get up to 2700, and then it got up there, and then it went right through it. I was saying it's either going to get up there and get rejected, or it's going to go right through it. And the next zone up above is another 4 or 5 ticks up above, 4 or 5 points. On this time frame, it looks like it's going to be rejected at this point or pull back, which it did here and here when it put in a new high. Okay, it looks like it might be in for another one of those. If you jump to another time frame, like I'll jump to the 30-minute. Even the 30-minute looks like it's gonna send it down. If we look at the hourly, the green line's getting up into the cycle. It's time for it to pull back. The daily, the green line's getting up into the cycle. It's time for it to pull back. So pretty much everything is saying it's going to have a pullback here. Okay, how big? I don't know. And that's it. So now let me go back here to the spreadsheet. Today, as I said, is Wednesday, the 3rd day of January. We made 4 ticks in the Euro, 11 ticks in the Russell, and 5 ticks in crude. That's $130 per contract. Took us 45 minutes and 4 trades to get to our goal for the day, and we took a total of 5 trade opportunities. All right, so on the month now, on the month and on the year, we're up $316. That's over 2 days, averaging $158 per day. Okay, that's on the month, the week, the year, everything so far. Now, if you have not taken our free trial, go to the homepage here at cfrn.net. Right up at the top, it says sign up for the CFRN Live Training Room, 100% free trials, user indicators, learn our strategy. Click here. When you click there, you'll be brought to this page where we simply ask for your email, your first name, and how you found us. Then you hit the submit button, and you'll be sent a confirmation link. Okay, you must click on that confirmation link. Once you do that, then we will send you all the information you need to get into the live training room. Okay? And that is that. All right, with that, I can send it back out to Studio A, overlooking South Mountain, America's largest city park, in fabulous Phoenix, Arizona. I knew there was something I missed. Okay, Dwayne, if you are there, you can take it all back.
You talking to me?
You. That's who I'm talking to. Crude right here is looking like it wants to go short.
And oh man, we watched, Gabe and I have a little tradition New Year's Day we watch the Twilight Zone marathon on the Sci-Fi Channel. We didn't get to watch a lot this year, but it's tradition, so we had to watch a couple episodes anyway. Unbelievable, the actors who we now know as, you know, people of a certain age and are quite famous, they had, you know, roles and bit parts in those early Twilight Zones, which I find quite fascinating. Do you know how long Twilight Zone was on the air?
I do not know.
5 years. Do you know how long Star Trek was on the air?
Oh, that's been on the air for a long time.
2 years.
Really?
Yes, that's it, buddy. This whole generation of people who've grown up, you know, with Spock and the Doc and Captain, I'm giving her all she's got and all that stuff. Yeah, 2 years. That's really amazing.
That is really amazing.
Okay, recap of the recap.
Today it took 45 minutes and 4 trades to get to $100 per contract. And do you see Bob Z's comment in there? He sent us an email yesterday saying that on YouTube the charts are down and to the right. I don't know that there's any way we control that, Bob.
You know, I kind of noticed that the other day, Bob, and there may be a way to control it, but I haven't done anything different. So I'm going to have to get under the hood, and we have to get under the hood and figure out, because that's just a recent occurrence. And again, I haven't changed anything on my end. So thanks for bringing it up, Bob. I know it's not just me. So I'll see if I can't fix that. Oh, and also, Bob, thank you for helping me out the other day with the. Let's see, what did I have? What was the typo? 200 billion Christians worldwide, or 20 billion? I don't know. Anyway,
200 billion, I think is what it was.
It was a typo. It was. Bob caught it. It's supposed to be 2 billion. So
2 billion.
They have corrected it. Thank you. I appreciate that, Bob. You know, that really, usually when I have some kind of computer issue, at least I know where to go start looking. But this one, I may have to reach out for help. So anyway, okay. I'm sorry, I missed the whole recap of the recap.
45 minutes.
Right.
4 trades. And $100 per contract.
Good job. 4 trades, 45 minutes, done for the day.
Yes.
Now keep in mind, guys, in the live training room, we only use 1 contract because we only want new students to use 1 contract. And if the teacher's using more, then students may use more if they have a sizable account. So, and by the way, you shouldn't have a sizable account. Okay? You only should have in your trading account that which will allow you to comfortably trade whatever number of contracts you have earned the right to trade. And if that's all Greek to you, you really should become a partner, and then I can explain it to you. Yesterday's big news: Founders Fund, the Silicon Valley venture capital firm known for its early investment in Facebook, is stepping into the world of cryptocurrencies according to a new report. Co-founded by high-profile investor Peter Thiel and based in San Francisco, Founders Fund has bought $15 to $20 million worth of Bitcoin across several of its recent funds, according to the Wall Street Journal. Although it's not entirely clear when the transactions were made or whether the firm has now sold any of its digital assets, the report said one of the funds began the investment as early as mid-2017. As such, the firm now reportedly touts hundreds of millions of dollars in returns for its investors. Now, according to the CoinDesk Bitcoin Price Index, Bitcoin mostly remained around $2,000 to $3,000 from May to July of 2017, but saw strong growth over the past 6 months, having reached an all-time high at nearly 20,000 in December. However, the news may not be entirely surprising given the billionaire co-founder of PayPal's previous support for the world's first cryptocurrency. As reported by CoinDesk, Thiel was quoted in October of last year as saying he believes the critics of Bitcoin are underestimating the cryptocurrency and that Bitcoin is like gold, meaning it has more potential as a long-term store of value than as an everyday payment method. So, well, there you go. Boy, a lot of stuff in the chat box here. What's going on? My previous co-host in another lifetime, Rod Serling, used to come over to his house for dinner parties. And I was thinking about that as I was watching the zone. Hey Dwayne, I've been looking at fib extension numbers, not fib retracement numbers, but the extension numbers on YouTube, and they're not all using the same numbers. What numbers do you like to use? Mike, I'm not sure I fully understand. I'm a 38, 50, 62 guy. So now with the if you can rephrase that question a little bit, give me some specific numbers. Yes, Brian, I see this. S&P just trying to outdo itself. Now, I'm just going to tell you guys, we're only 4 points away from our highest weekly trading zone on the S&P. These are last week's zones, okay? This week's at 27.14. So I'm going to tag it. Now, what if we trade above it? Okay. By close of business on Friday, what we anticipate based on historical observance is that the S&P 500 will be at 27.15 or below. Extensions like 127, 144, 161, 244. You know, that looks so far out. Yeah. You know what, maybe a little later in the show, Mike, if you remind me, when I pull up a chart, we can run some extensions, and I'll just show you what I look at, okay? Okay, yeah, just be sure and remind me. Now, I think John's here. Let me check. Hey, John, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you.
Welcome to the show. We really missed you yesterday.
Yeah, sorry I couldn't come on.
No, I understand.
Back on top today. So,
awesome.
We've got an incredibly powerful start to the new year. Kind of, you know, this is actually a carbon copy of 87. We had
this right here, the S&P.
Yeah, it really is.
Okay.
It really is. It's I mean, look, we're just pushing the new all-time highs now in the Nasdaq, and the S&P today is just incredibly strong. And we because we hit 7,000 on the composite yesterday, it potentially could go all the way to 7,700, you know. So in the next few days, I mean, this is such an incredible push. You know, we've got double back to back almost, you know, by the end of the day, it looks like we're going to be up another 100 points in the Nasdaq.
Yeah, and you know, John, this morning in the live training room, I quoted something you said last week about stocks. You had me pull up a number of different stocks that made parabolic moves, and none of them ended well. Okay, do you? What about this parabolic move in the S&P and the Nasdaq?
Well, it hasn't really gone. I mean, it's not gone parabolic yet. That's the thing.
Yeah, if you put it on a daily chart, it kind of has.
Yeah, it's starting to, but you know what? It really looks like. I mean, honest to God, I think we're going to end somewhere in a range between 26,000 and 32,000 before this is all over. And it could be at the higher end of that range. I mean, it really is extraordinary what's going on. And, you know, you have to, I mean, you know, you get these people who are saying, you know, that Trump is benefiting from Obama. It's all a lot of hogwash.
Oh, my goodness.
I've already gone through the whole thing about, you know, I mean, somebody who's educated in this, and I'm not trying to be outsmart anybody. I'm just giving you the facts. The fact of the matter is, you know, September the 28th or 29th, I think it was, 2015, is when Trump announced his tax cuts, and I can guarantee you, the rally, the 2,000-point rally from that point into the end of December was nothing to do with Obama, and it was everything to do with Trump, because the market anticipates things ahead of time. You know, you could argue that all this bluster about North Korea, one of the reasons the market is going up today is it's possibly anticipating, you know, what could be a favorable outcome to the Korea conflict or Korea situation, because, you know, if it was fearing, you know, World War III, it wouldn't be going up like this today. Guarantee you that. So the market is this very strange beast, and it has been anticipating better things all year, and it's continuing to do so today. This is a flying start to the new year, like to which we haven't seen certainly since 2013 and 2012, 13, and these were epic years in the stock market. So you know, there's very little that the Fed can do about trying to quell, you know, what is becoming irrational exuberance, you know, 2.0, and in actual fact, if they raise rates more, yeah, the market's gonna accelerate higher. Now, we might have a couple of corrections, you know, in the meantime. That's what happened in '87. You know, we had a very strong January, and then we had a bit of a pullback in February, and then we went back up in March, and then we had a really severe pullback in April and May. You know, we had a 10% pullback in sort of late March, April, or into April, and then there was an 11% rally to new all-time highs. Then there was a 12 to 13% pullback. And, you know, after that, I mean, people were pretty drained and they thought it was all over. And then we went up 30% from the middle of May. So, you know, the way it's going right now, we are emulating to a considerable degree, you know, the whole scenario from October, November of '86, October, November '86 is a carbon, you know, we have basically repeated in October, November, you know, the rally since August, really, the August lows around 25th of August was when we really took off on this unstoppable rally. And you know, it's still going on, and it's a carbon copy of '86, and you have to be mindful that look, we've gone up 40% up in the Nasdaq since the election. That is actually, you know, the Nasdaq really is the dominant market today. Even though everybody still looks at the Dow, the Nasdaq is like the Dow of the 80s or 70s. You know, I mean, so, you know, to be fair to Trump, you know, when you look at the Nasdaq, he's an all-time record winner beyond of all presidents of all time, because of the Nasdaq's performance, and also the 6.6 trillion that the market has gone up since the election. If you add in the cryptos and the real estate, it's about 7 trillion. It's a staggering gain. So I mean, he's so far ahead of any other president. When you take, you know, the modern day reality of what has been accomplished, and when you add 7.5 trillion or 7 trillion to a GDP of 19 trillion or so, you know, it's a staggering increase in valuation and in wealth, the likes of which we've never seen. So that wealth is continuing. I mean, actually, as we are today, we've probably added another 0.5 trillion just in the early days of this new year, or in the last few days. So you know, it's almost upwards of 7.5, 8 trillion right now, and it's probably approaching around 15 trillion worldwide. So this is just mind-boggling. And if it continues, we are getting a little bit of a top here right now that might hold this market. It's not. I mean, we've been actually moving stops up all day, and we actually got the high on Apple today around the 174 point something, 2 or 3, and it's down to 173.3. Not a big deal. We also got a sell-off on Priceline. When Apple is a very important leading indicator in the market, so I would be paying attention to that. Nvidia is possibly might be a sell right here at 211. It's had a spectacular move in the last couple of days. We had buy stops on all these. We sold them at the previous highs, and when they had this dip, we put buy stops above all these issues. So we caught this move back up. But alert to the possibility we could have a sell-off this afternoon, in spite of this amazing start, because the way the first 5 days of the year go, sometimes if you get the second day, I'm not saying we go negative today, but that would be bad. But if we did go negative today, that'd be very bad, and it certainly doesn't look like that right now. But sometimes you might get a bit of a hiccup, in the second or third day, and that would translate to a correction, a third, somewhere between a third and halfway through the year, which fits with what I've been saying about the 87 scenario. So, and sometimes the first 5 days of the year, I think that's what happened in 87. We did get a little bit of a pullback in the second or third day, and then we were, but the first 5 days of 87 were up pretty dramatically, and it certainly looks like the same thing could happen this year. This is it's not quite as big a blast off as 87. I think the 87 one was more dramatic than this, actually, but this is a pretty good start. And and actually the oil stocks, which we actually just sold a short while ago, have had a pretty good run. We went long the energy this morning, and yesterday as well. So the energy's had a pretty good run, but it might be getting a bit stretched here at this point, and the stocks pulling back appear to be the same. The same things going on with the gold. Gold is pulling back a little bit, but I have a feeling that gold is going to break out again to the upside, and the silver is starting to lead the gold higher, which is something I've been waiting for, and it's really becoming quite apparent today that it's definitely starting to outperform the gold. I'm working on my gold report. It's a very, very big thing to put together because there's an awful lot of bits to it. But when you look at some of the charts I'm going to be putting into it, they really look incredibly bullish. And to be perfectly honest with you, I think 27 silver and $1,1700 gold are really a very big reality this year. Interestingly, the platinum, which has been, holding the gold back. If you remember, the last time it got up to 950, it came all the way back down again, but it didn't make a lower low. That was key, and then took off again. And here we are going through 962 today. Look, the platinum's up 14, the gold's only up 170. That's very bullish for gold when that happens. The palladium is absolutely spectacular. We put out this 1111 target on palladium months ago on this show. For anybody who doesn't believe, I give them a heads up ahead of time. This was one of the biggest heads up you'll ever get, because I think we put that out when it was about 800. And here we are at 1083.4 right now, which is pretty amazing. It's gone up $1,000 in a matter of days. This palladium has just been incredible. So, and that could make platinum, that could have platinum catch up quite dramatically, which it appears to be doing. I would expect platinum to accelerate here towards 1,000. So I think platinum is a pretty good buy, even at these levels. The copper pulled back this morning. We put a rebuy on it at 325. It's just around almost 326 right now. The silver just hit a new high a minute ago. So I would expect the gold to pick up, and we did get a little bit of a trade out of the dust and the J dust this morning, but I would go to a sell on those right now. It looks like I'd sell them just below. I'd sell PM lows on those, and buy PM highs on the nugs, because they look, they've had a bit of a pullback. I think they're in somebody asked me a while ago on the JNUG, I got them back in around 1835 or so, and it's about 1860 now. I'm not saying we're 100% certain these things are going up right from here, but they may consolidate around a bit. Some of the gold stocks are really not acting that well today. Newmont is probably the strongest, and I'd probably definitely want to stay long that. Royal Gold, got knocked down dramatically a few days ago, and it has rebounded some, but it came pretty sharply today. I'd buy RGLD.
Why do you think it got knocked down?
I don't know. There's something weird going on, but it's put in a fantastic bottom, because even though it got knocked down, it has got a tremendous looking bottom underneath it. So when it decides to go, it'll probably outperform the other gold stocks, and when that happens, you'll see a really big advance in the metals, in my view. So 82.55, 82.60, somewhere around there would probably be a pretty good place to have a buy stop. The GOLD, remember that, they never make it easy. They knocked GOLD down about $10, and it was sitting around the 90 level, and it didn't kind of break, and then it suddenly turned up, ran up to 100, and now it's pulled back to 98 and a half or so. And I think this is probably a pretty good place to be looking to re-enter. Somewhere like that, and it's dropped down.
So, what do you think?
The other thing is the currency
is really driving this market higher. Do you think is it the tax bill? Is it Trump? Is it a combination?
Well, it's the taxes. It's the taxes. The tax. It's a replica of '86. It's a tax. It's not just the tax. It's the whole. The deregulation is a big part of it. The money coming back, and the stimulus bill now is the next big thing. And that's almost for sure going to be about $1 trillion. It might even be $1.5 trillion. That's going to be monumental. And that's something we didn't have in '86. So, and this money coming back, whether it's stock buybacks or whatever they use the money for, look, one of the things that I would say is
you're not a big fan of stock buybacks, are you?
No, I think stock buybacks are I think they're a good thing.
I just remember in the past.
No, I tell you what, stock buybacks are good. You did.
Go ahead.
You're dead right. I don't like them. I don't like them when the stocks at insane levels. Stock buybacks when stocks are, the start of a bull market. Stock buybacks in 2009, which there were a few that kicked off the bull market. That's a bullish indicator. And actually, now that you reminded me of 2009, right now probably buying gold stocks buybacks is a good idea.
You had mentioned to me one time that I forget what company we were talking about, and this goes way back to like 2006, 2007. You said that you felt you may have been talking about a specific company, not a concept in general. You said, I think instead of buying back stock, that money should be going towards research and development.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, that's I totally agree with that. And especially nowadays when things are happening at the breakthrough pace that all these innovations are going on, definitely. And, now is the time to be stepping up production. in gold companies or acquiring other companies, because I really believe, when the first thing that when you get my gold report, the first thing you're going to be looking at is the history of the last 7 or 8 bull markets in gold, and where we are based upon all of those bull markets. And it's almost like 2009 to 2011 in the stock market. We had a liftoff from 2009, but remember, we went from 9 to 10, then we had the pullback, and then we went from 10 to 11, and then we had another very sharp pullback. And that's a little bit like the 10 to 11 pullback is a little bit like the pullback we just had in gold that took us, especially in silver, took us down almost to the lows, back down to 15. And the gold sort of back down into the 1200, the low 1200s. And guess what happened after the 11 bottom in stocks? You had this meteoric rise, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. You had a 5-year rise in stocks of epic proportions. And, you got to understand the gold market is sort of like the hangover. When the hangover comes in the stock market, that's when gold really shines. And the fact that gold and the market are going up together right now is the beginning. It's a period very similar to 2005 to 2007. And 2005 to 2007 was a period when gold doubled, more than doubled, right? And stocks also went up dramatically into the 2007 stock. What else happened? Between 2005 and 2007, the Fed, raised rates about 18 or 19 times, and stocks went, and stocks, went. I mean, look at all the financials. Merrill Lynch went to $96. Bear Stearns went to $160, $170. BlackBerry went to $450. Stocks had some incredible runs in that time, and yet gold also. There was a huge run in gold stocks, and gold went to $1,000 for the first time ever. So we were at 425. I believe we were at 425 in the first quarter of 2005, and people were throwing the towel in on gold and silver right then. And it was sort of a little bit like that a few weeks ago, before this liftoff. And believe me, the liftoff from from 425, we were at 500 within a matter of weeks. By April, May, June, we were sort of hitting 500. Next thing you know, we were 700, and before not too long after that, we were hitting 1,000. So so we think about it. Here we are at 1,300. I mean, doubling gold, 2,600. If we get to 2,600, we're going to be pushing 3,000 before you know it, and deservedly so. How you can't have the market going to the moon? It's gone up 300-400% since 2009. The Nasdaq particularly. Gold is standing still. The world doesn't work that way. Everything eventually gets has its run, and you just have to go back in history and see these previous periods, and gold has kept pace. If it has not just kept pace, but it's outperformed the market. If you go back to the 60s, 50s, 60s, really the 60s, and look at the price of gold, back then to today, there is almost no equal in terms of how much gold's gone up, and that's today. That's before we got the next, surge. By the time we get the next surge in gold, gold will be the greatest performing asset of all time, and or since the 60s. Remember, gold back in at the turn of the century was at $7 to $15 an ounce. So it's gone up massively since then, as has the market.
Do you attribute this?
It's
rise?
hard to see gold being the huge winner that I'm foretelling of today, but it's coming.
Do you think
and it's
money
inevitable.
is flowing out of Bitcoin or cryptos in general into gold?
Well, the cryptos have performed a bit better than I thought in the first couple of days of the year.
Well,
I mean, we had a reason.
when Peter Thiel made that announcement yesterday, Bitcoin shot up 12% in what, an hour, 2 hours?
Right. But he's got a lot of Bitcoin to sell,
Well, I got to say, he is probably the smartest guy in the room. And people go, well, which room? And I say, well, any room that doesn't have Bezos and Musk in it. He's a smart guy.
No, he really is. But remember, Dwayne, he lost $6.5 billion, or nearly $7 billion, in between 2009 and 2012 or so, because he bet against the market. And he didn't anticipate the recovery, and
Right.
that's an awful lot of money to lose. And I wish I'd been able to advise him, because he wouldn't have lost that money. We were very, very bullish on the market from March the 6th, 2009 onwards, and we're still bullish today. So that's it's 100% record of our outlook on the market. We've been more bullish than almost anybody on this market ever since it started. And I'm telling you right now, I am absolutely a raging bull on gold, with more fervor perhaps than I ever was in this stock market. And I think the possibility of gold going to 8,000 or 9,000 has become more real than ever. I know there's been a lot of people saying it, in the past, but you don't hear too many people talking about it today. It's almost an embarrassment to mention it, and that's why I think the likelihood of it happening is very, very high indeed. Because look, whether if they printed 30 trillion of money, I mean, if 30 trillion of money has really helped us, helped the world recover from a near depression, and we are where we are today, what's not to like about that? It's been a spectacular experience, and it's certainly saved an awful lot of people from a much more miserable life. I mean, we're only here once. We might as well make the most of it. Yeah. And I said this back in 2009. And kudos to the Fed and the politicians who've enabled, this amazing experience to happen to us in this lifetime, because it could have been a lot worse. We could have had a misery and war and everything else in the last few decade or so, and we've had an incredible time instead. So I think everybody has to be grateful for that, and hopefully it will continue. And it certainly looks like it's going to continue, and it could continue in a way. Look, I mean, remember the 2009, March 2009 was as close to a depression as you will ever get. It was very similar to the bottom of 1932. The outlook looked incredibly grim, and it really, really looked bleak. And that's what mega bull markets are made of. We had an extreme century-long depressed. There was zero bullishness in 2009, virtually zero. And when you get that, you usually get a mega bull market, when you get such an extreme of sentiment. And guess what? And remember, we had another extreme low in 2011, right before we got this epic move up. And we had another one in 2016, in early 2016. So these sentiment lows are tremendous buying opportunities, and you've got to have your wits about you, and you've got to go against the trend. We've had, I mean, the 15 bottom in gold was equally decimating. It was extremely negative. There was zero sentiment in gold. There's zero bulls. When gold hit, when gold hit 1045, most people were saying it was going to break through 1,000. People were calling for $900, $800, $700 gold, right? And then we had a very similar, low sentiment reading a few weeks ago, and now it's picked up, and the gold is acting much, much better. So. What we're getting up into towards levels where a break above 1400 will be a break above 1360, 1370 will be a pretty big deal.
Hey, John, we need to invite Wayne in to the conversation here.
Oh, okay, great.
Wayne, join us, please. You got an open mic. I'm getting a phone call from Pakistan.
How about that? Might be the president.
It says the phone number was +92, but underneath it said Pakistan. Pakistan. Can you see my gold chart? Hey, Wayne, if you're there, come on and join us. You have an open mic. Do you see my chart I have up?
I do.
Mike
look at it.
Mike asked me to bring up a daily chart on gold. I am using the continuous contract. And so he wanted me to connect the bottoms and then use a parallel line to connect those tops. And so this is a big price channel. Now, this run up here, okay, if we were to pull back, now what I've done is reverse fibs. I've gone from the high to the low, and then I went from the low to the high. And so we've got overlap of fibs right here, and then again right here, and then again right here. Now, this major support line here, I drew it all the way across because support, 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 support. It finally cracks support, okay? But chances are if it gets back down there again, it'll hold. I hope it doesn't. I would like to see it bounce off this 1303. I mean, it's going to pull back at some point. If the pullback can just stay north of 1300, I mean, I was saying this a year ago, I think, or close to it. Anyway.
Yeah, it looks like it might consolidate, actually.
Dwayne,
it looks
you know
like
what? His microphone wasn't working, and so now he's trying to call in, I believe. Okay, go ahead, because his phone's not lit up yet. So go ahead with what you're saying.
Oh yeah. So yeah, looking at that chart, it might consolidate a bit here. And, you know, when the market's really, really blasting higher like this, the gold tends to kind of stand still a little bit, at least. Sometimes it pulls back. But, you know, the silver at 17 and a quarter is in a very, it's a very key level because once you sort of get to the 17 and a quarter, you could quite quickly hit the 17 and a half. In fact, you know, we started off with a 50-cent up move in silver rather, from the get-go, and we've gone up at a more measured pace since. We could have another 50-cent spurt that would take us to 17 and three quarters. And once we get past 18, you know, if the silver goes to 18, it's gonna shock people how quickly it gets to 20 and through the 20s into the 21 or so. I think that's something to be ready for. The upside surprises are going to be quite remarkable, and the same with the gold. You know, this next when we break out above that sort of 1330, 1325 area. Same sort of thing. Look, we could still test the 13. You know, I wouldn't rule it out. That we could still test that support line where you got major support there, and get the energy to go up through that line with a bit more vigor. Mm-hmm. But I think when we do break up above the 1325, 1330 area. Mm-hmm. Boy, you're going to see a very rapid move to 1360 and possibly
our highest weekly zone. Now, last week we blew out the highest weekly gold zone early in the week, which is highly unusual. And our highest weekly zone this week is 22/23. So we're not too far off, and we're only a couple of points off on the S&P. So
right.
Definitely, we got started with a bang. That, I mean, people have to look at it like this. We've been doing the weekly trading zones since December 14th of 2009. So 7 years. No, 8 years, I guess. 8 years this past December. All right. Now, because they have performed so consistently during that time period, when I see the market do things like take out the highest zone early in the week and then never look back. That's the unusual behavior. You know, it's not for me to run and change my formula. It's like, oh my gosh, this thing is, you know, outperforming. So does that bode well for the bulls, or does it bring out the, you know, fangs in the shorts? And by fangs, I mean teeth, not Amazon and the other guys.
Yeah.
Okay, it looks like Wayne's back. I would say, Wayne, are you there?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you this time. All right.
My goodness. I've been enjoying your conversation, particularly listening to what John had to say, and enjoying very much. But when I try to be heard, I wasn't able to. I tried the phone,
couldn't hear you.
And it wouldn't record my code either. So very strange.
Well, you're here now, but you might be just a little. Can you get just a little closer to the mic? I mean, we hear you clear, but you sound a little bit distant.
John, I had a question in terms of listening to your views about gold, silver, and so forth. And I'm interested in asking, and
oh snap! You dropped out again, Wayne.
I was all ears.
I know. Yeah, I know. Hopefully, I remember the last time he had a problem early on in the show where it would come in and out. I think you might have a short in your mic cord. The best headset I ever had, I was trying to clean my office one night and I vacuumed it up into the anyway. And then when I went to the store to buy a new one, they don't make that particular model anymore. So I think that might be the issue for you, Wayne. Can't think of any other reason why it would cut in and out like that. But
can you help me?
Yep.
Can you hear me now?
Gotcha. Yeah. Get that question out. John's interested.
It's my webcam mic that I'm using.
Oh, okay.
And I also tried my headphone, and it's not working either.
Huh.
And as I say, when I tried the telephone, it wouldn't allow me to enter the access code. It kept saying you've not entered any code.
Let me ask you a question. Does your webcam and your headset, do they have a USB plug-in, or do they have the green and pink plug-in?
USB, I believe.
They're both USB? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, those usually
let me
work
ask
pretty
question
flawlessly.
again.
Yeah, go ahead.
I wanted to ask to John, what is it that's a moving force in terms of your bullish?
Say that again, Wayne. Oh, God. We lost him again. Huh.
Can you hear me now?
Yep. Gotcha.
What is the impetus for your bullish outlook on gold and silver?
Well, I don't know. Maybe you came on and didn't hear what I said earlier on. The gold, there is a sort of a time lag of years. To 5, 7 to 10 years after the liftoff of a financial bull market, which is 2009 for this era. We did have because of the massive amount of stimulus that went into the market to get the economy going. I guess that was reflected in the blow off top in gold that happened in August of 2011, or September 2011. And remember that blow off in gold was partly driven by the fears of Europe imploding, because remember, the European bottom was what dragged us down into the 2011 bottom, which was a 20% drop in the market, incidentally. That happened. It was we went 20% down in 20 days from about July the 26th of that year. And it was a brutal kind of a sell-off, but its bottom was very short-lived. We literally, I think we sort of trundled along for a couple of months, and then we took off. I think it was October the 4th of 2011.
Well,
we kind of never look back. But here's the point. We've had this meteoric rise in the stock market since, and we had 4 years down in the gold to 2015, while the market was in a very, very strong uptrend. Now, what I believe is happening right now is gold has already started to move higher, and it is anticipating problems, economic problems that are going to come into play. Not necessarily right today, but in maybe later this year or in the next few years, but more importantly in the 22 to 24 time frame. Gold is already anticipating these problems way ahead. Just the same as the market started anticipating a Trump win as far back as September the 29th, 2015. So the gold is getting some lift from the valuation of the stock market and all the money that's being pushed in, but it hasn't. When you will really see that reflected is when trouble starts, and will start down the road in the economy. And it's also a result of the 30 trillion in stimulus that's been pumped into the market. And look, I said a few minutes ago, you should be buying the gold and silver here. The stocks haven't turned yet, but they're just turning up a little bit. But the platinums are now 964, the gold's 18.5, and the silver is already accelerating higher. So, the gold was not going to wait for anybody. And remember what we said literally a couple of weeks ago. We said that we thought that 2018 would be like 2016 in the gold, but without the sharp pullback that we had in 2016, where the gold took off. And if you weren't long, it was hard to catch. And I think that defines what's happened since the Fed bottom on the 13th of December, where the gold actually anticipated the Fed rate hike and took off a couple of days before. And look at how much we've gone up since. It's pretty dramatic, and it looks like it's accelerating. And you know what? That line you've drawn, Dwayne, there, you never know. It may not consolidate. It could just go straight through it. That's what happened in 2016. The market didn't wait for anybody. And obviously, the more wealth that's being created. Remember, you've got this monumental situation developing in China where there's just a staggering amount of wealth being created, and millionaires. I mean, look how fast China's number of millionaires has not only caught up with the number in the U.S. And including the billionaires, which is almost neck and neck right now. 400 or 500 billionaires is just staggering. The wealth of the millionaires in China is already much greater than the wealth of the millionaires in the U.S. And it's all happened very, very fast. And the Chinese have an adoration for gold that's second to none in anywhere in the world, possibly except for India. So you got the two fastest growing economies in the world, India and China, where they haven't really, if things get, look, the Chinese just put restrictions on credit card expenditure overseas to 15,000. So they're clamping down on how to get money out of China. And therefore, if the Chinese yuan starts going down, like it did in 14, 15, 16, the only refuge for the Chinese is gold. And believe me, when billions of people start buying gold, it will be like the proverbial thing that Doug Casey once said, like a fire hydrant instead of a garden hose. It'll be like a dam. You'll have an increasing money flow into gold, where and it's amazing because the Bitcoin phenomena has really paved the way for a similar phenomena to develop in gold over the coming years. And remember, who are the people who has the most to gain from higher gold price? How about Russia and China and the U.S. as well? The U.S. would be a monumental winner if they've still got 8,000 tons of gold in Fort Knox, and gold goes to $10,000 an ounce. It's going to be a massive windfall for the U.S. down the road. And remember, when gold went to $875 an ounce in 1980, we economically we were in trouble. But it didn't take long. You know, all that wealth that was created out of gold kind of kickstarted the economy in 1982 and created the stock market bottom that went from 1982 to 2000. So I sort of see a similar thing happening in this era, but it's going to be a longer era. I believe it'll be a 7 or 8 year bull market in gold. And my thinking behind this is, you know, just like we've been through a very rough period, like the 70s in gold.
John?
Yep.
May I interrupt for a second?
Sure.
The way I see gold and silver are basically as monetary reflections of concerns about monetary policy. And that, to me, indicates that as gold...
Wayne, you dropped out again. John, you see this chart here? On this chart, I can't draw a trend line, but just based on your eye, if we were to draw a trend line from this low to this low, how close would we come to this low? Just eyeballing it. I can't believe this thing won't let me draw a trend line.
Yeah, actually, that, you know, if we keep going up on this
to here to here, I mean, we might not have come all the way back. I'll find some way to get a trend line on there.
Yeah. You know, if that thing powers on above 17,000, it's probably going to go to new highs. This Bitcoin, because it looks quite a potentially bullish chart if it starts you know, continuing higher.
If we got a measured move from this high to this low, gosh, where would that put us? That would put us well over 20,000. Yeah. Yeah.
So, and look, another thing I wanted to say is, you know, we put a buyout on IBM back in the 140, somewhere on the low 140s, and IBM has gapped higher twice now, and the GE also, we put a buy last day of the year, or second or third last day of the year on GE. And GE just gapped up in the new year as well. So, you know, that's another reason why gold is taking off, because things that were not so hot in 2017 are likely to be very hot in 2018. And look at the silver now.
John, look at my chart up here, this Ethereum. Now, the CT Global coin is built on the Ethereum blockchain, not on the Bitcoin blockchain. And we hit a new all-time high today.
Yeah. No, listen, you nailed it. I remember when you went long at about 300, didn't you?
Yep. I sure did.
Yeah. No, it's a hell of a trade. Well done. And you stuck with it all the way, right?
Still got it.
Yeah. No, I think it's going to go to 1,000. It's probably going to go to 1,100. This Ether.
Well, there's some out there saying it's going to overtake Bitcoin. I mean, I don't know. I've said all along that it's because of its utilitarian uses. It's not just a store of value, but it has utilitarian uses, and banks and financial institutions tend to favor it over Bitcoin because it's not only a racehorse, it's also a workhorse. Yeah.
I know you're right, and I think it was when you went into that, you explained that pretty well, and it's coming true. You know, it's certainly been a very good trade, and the fact that it's making new all-time highs when Bitcoin isn't it says a lot. Yes, actually.
That absolutely does. Now, there's another one. I think I can pull it up too. Hang on. This Ripple has really caught fire here in the last week or so. A couple weeks. Can I do Ripple? Yeah, Ripple versus the dollar. Look at that thing.
Yeah,
that's at a new all-time high too. That's at $2.72. And let's see, back in I don't know who painted this chart all up, but anyway, so back in December, it was trading at, I don't know, 20 cents, 20, 22, 25, 20 to 30 cents, we'll call it. And since then, it's run all the way to $2.72. Now, I think this is the one where the creator came out and warned people that it might be moving up too much too quick, and maybe they should be careful. Was it this one, Ripple XRP, or was it one of the? I know we talked about it on the show, but I don't remember. Bless you. Wayne, are you there? Doggone it. We're going to send you a company-sponsored mic. Get you all set up. Okay. Go ahead, John. I think I might have cut you off there. Sorry.
I think I told you I got a very good, there's a really good a Logitech headset and speaker, mic for around $25 at Best Buy.
I have sitting over here on the corner of my desk a Heil PR40, which is about a $500 microphone. And all the famous podcasters who do all the great shows use a Heil PR40. In fact, it's used in most radio studios as well. That doggone thing, I could never get the volume out of it that I wanted. And then my wife was asked to write a review on a microphone called Center Stage, which is about a $50 to $60 mic. And the second I plugged it in, I could tell that it just beat the pants off the Heil PR40 for some reason.
Can you hear me now?
Loud and clear, man.
All right. Well, I've got my headset. I think it must have something to do with, I've got two plug-ins on the front of my computer.
Yeah.
I was using the webcam for one of them. I disconnected it and put my headset into that. All of a sudden it works while it was not working on the other one. So in any event, sorry for all the technical problems.
No, I'm just glad you got it figured out. Now, the microphone I'm talking about isn't part of a headset. My headphones are separate from my mic. My mic's on one of those big booms like you see the,
Yes.
Fancy pants people on TV wear or use in the radio stations. Okay.
Well, maybe I can make up for a little lost time. I'm sorry for all of the confusion, but in any event, it seems to me that the way I see and I agree that we ought to be bullish about gold, silver, the monetary metals, because I think there's great concern about monetary policy, and particularly where the dollar is going, and the tremendous mismanagement that we've had of it. The problem we've seen also in terms of the gold price is that it simply does not reflect real market conditions. It is highly manipulated. It is managed through the paper metals, that is the futures exchanges. And in that circumstance, we just do not have presently a real price of gold or silver. When I think at this point it starts moving up or begins to look bullish, it's simply because there's a greater
Oh, snap. We lost you again, brother. Just when we thought we had it all figured out.
Yeah. By the way, it's a little bit of a sell-off. I just put a sell-out on across the board a few minutes ago. It's a bit of a sharp sell-off going on here that might have legs. It may just turn out to be a mid-afternoon pullback. We'll deal with that accordingly. But right now, you got to be real bit careful, because if we did somehow end up down today, and by the way, one of the things that's bothering me is the mid cap is actually negative already, and it's been up and down a few times today, but it sometimes is a bit of an early indicator of trouble. And this would be a perfect point for the market to stick it to everybody.
My best guess is it's going to head to 20. Look at my chart, 2706, where my horizontal cursor line is, and it's a 38% retracement of the last leg up. And you see here how much support we had there. I think it's headed
Yeah.
there. 38%
Yeah,
retracement.
that would be okay, because look, when to get up 5 days in a row is it takes some doing, and if the market just closed marginally positive today, that would be good enough for a second day win, and then maybe tomorrow and Friday we could still eke out higher gains. That would be important. But remember,
They've got the Dow.
could,
The Dow's what we call an also ran back when I used to go with my boss to the horse track because he made me. I mean, look at this. I mean,
yeah, it can't. The Dow's been struggling. It's been
oh my
underperforming
goodness.
here.
Yeah.
Yeah, and look, we're talking about the dogs of the Dow. IBM has gapped higher. So some of the, look, the BAs. I bet you Boeing is. Not doing it. Let's see. Boeing is negative. It's actually made a kind of a double top here. Got to be extremely careful of that, because sometimes these big performers from the previous year literally don't do anything in the new year. They get into trouble right away, because the smart money is saying, how can you not be happy with $297 of Boeing? It's and it's sitting here under 300. People think it's going to break over 300. Maybe it will. Maybe it won't. So this New Year stuff is very, you got to pay a lot of attention to it, and that includes things like NVIDIA. Apple, look at Apple. I mean, we sold this thing right at the high this morning, and it's already down $1. And as I said earlier, Apple is, can be a leading indicator for the market. It's the biggest stock, in the world right now, and people pay attention to it. And Amazon, I think we just hit 1,200 today. That's a pretty big deal too. In fact, we're approaching what could be a double top there on Amazon, we've got some divergence going on amongst these FANGs today. Facebook is also potentially making a double top right here too. So if we had a failure on any of these overnight, or if King Jong gets up to something as well.
Okay, now how much does that really worry you? Because I'm going to tell you, last night when I was watching Fox News with my wife, I was telling the audience earlier, she has a favorite show, Outnumbered, where it's those 4 very smart ladies and then the one lucky guy the one lucky guy changes every day. Hashtag one lucky guy. So anyway, this is when I first heard what Kim had said in his speech on the 1st, and he said, I have the nuclear button on my desk all the time. This is not a threat. It's simply a reality. And you know what? I actually felt a shiver run down my spine, because this guy is he's a couple French fries short of a Happy Meal. And I say that with, Christian love. But his gene pool is very murky, and you just don't know what this. If he wakes up with a sour stomach, I mean, he might decide to hit the button. And at the same time, they were talking about, $1 trillion in infrastructure that Trump wants to do, that I think maybe we need to do. And my wife looks at me and goes, so we spend $1 trillion, we build all these roads and highways and whatnot, and then, Kim hits the button and blows them up. And Trump, instead of trying to invoke dialogue, Trump tweeted back, well, I got a red button too, and it's bigger than yours. I mean, oh my goodness, are we in the locker room back in high school again? Okay, I heard you.
Yeah, Dwayne, I think that Kim is simply a puppet of the deep state that we are fighting here in the U.S.
Whose deep state is that? Our deep state?
It's the deep state for the entire world. I mean, the ruling elite have.
For the benefit of the audience, well, what does that term actually mean, deep state? Can you?
Well, you can talk the operatives of the ruling elite that are out of sight. They're not the public operations.
Okay.
It's the deep state of the CIA, the dark side of the CIA, the ones that the president do not control.
Okay.
They're funded by other sources. They're not funded by the U.S. Government, by the Congress.
You'll never see them do a press conference.
That's correct. And the same people are arming North Korea. They're not developing their own nuclear weapons. These are the same people, in many respects, that dark side is very tied in with our so-called closest allies. And you can name several of the major countries that would be involved with that. So it's a matter that of what they need to do in order to try to get out of the problem they're in. If you haven't heard, there has been a great deal of activity at Gitmo. Many flights into Gitmo. Not only that, but the Secretary of Defense has visited. There's a report that they're going to spend something like $500 million in increasing the facilities there. And it's because so many people are coming in, reported to be new detainees. And they're not talking about jihad people. They're talking about the top operators of the Western world, so-called. The ones that are the power brokers, the ones that have been the major criminals. And some of them are certainly going to have recognizable American names. So we'll see when those start actually coming down. There's certainly reports that we're talking about military tribunals, not civilian courts that have been plugged with a great many very corrupt judges, as we've seen already in their refusals to enforce various aspects of what would ordinarily be normal operations for the way our Constitution is supposed to operate. But those things are very much, I think, on the mind of the investing public and the ones who are wondering how the dollar is going to fare in the circumstance in which really the rest of the world is losing confidence in the dollar, despite the pretenses. The dollar is going to fall because of all those extra trillions that we haven't even been told about, that the Fed has created for its own use, the use of its owners, not for the use of the public or the so-called rational management of our monetary policy. That is all a fake and a facade, in my considered opinion. And so we'll see how it comes. But the question is, how long are they going to be able to keep interest rates under so-called control with the manipulations they use? The rest of the world is really the impetus for movement on that front. It's not that the ones ruling our country would like to change.
Okay, John, you're on deck.
Yeah, the one thing that was lacking in all the discussions last night, everybody's forgotten about 9/11, and this guy is basically, talking about 9/11 to the power of 100, and I think that that wasn't, Trump is Trump and he'll do whatever he's saying, but I think he should go back and pull, remind people that the doctrine hasn't changed since post 9/11, that we will, we still reserve the right to a preemptive strike if the threat deserves, so deserves, and we've got to stop, fighting with our arm behind our back like we did, right after 9/11, when we should have hit them 100 times harder, so they never pull any of these stunts again. And because of that, we had ISIS rise up, simply because we didn't go in and hit them hard enough, from day one, and we had a long drawn out war as a result. And it's the same with Afghanistan. It's absolutely inexcusable that they didn't take out Osama bin Laden in 2001 when they had the chance. And look at by not taking him out right away, it kind of gave rise to ISIS ultimately, and it certainly killed a lot of people in the meantime. In Bali, remember the Bali bombing, the Spanish bombings in the trains, and then the British, 2007, and everything else has happened since. And all of these were preventable; they were all avoidable. The terrorists have been getting away with murder since the 1970s. without being punished, without being eliminated. I mean, one thing that Trump has done that nobody's ever done before is he's basically eliminated one of these terrorist groups by the name of ISIS. He's practically blown them off the face of the earth. Yeah, and I think he should.
Again,
and I'd like to see them go out and take out the rest of them quick, smart. I hope, and I'm pretty sure they're doing that, as we speak. They've got to get every last one of them. And that's the way that they have to deal with all this. And it's the same with Kim. You can't have this maniac regime doing what it's doing, because it's going to end badly sooner or later. Go ahead.
John,
go ahead, Wayne.
9/11 was an inside job.
Well, whatever.
Well, not everybody, not everybody agrees with that. I know that you do, and I respect that because I know you're a very smart man. But I'm not sold on it. And I have a friend from, oh gosh, we go back so far, I can't even remember. He is 100% sold that it was an inside job. He's written a book, he's done documentaries, but he hasn't managed to sell me, and Lord knows he's tried. And I know all the arguments. I do. I don't know. Maybe it's that Pollyanna part of me that just doesn't want to believe my government would do such a horrible thing to our country. Call me naive. I don't know. Call me a Nancy boy. I don't know. John, do you is there, in your mind, is there any room at all for the fact that 9/11 was an inside job?
Look, you can never rule anything in or out.
I agree. I always say embrace all possibilities. So I haven't said it's impossible. It's just that I haven't been convinced yet,
Yeah.
I need to see a preponderance of the evidence, and then at some point my brain might click and go, oh my God, they're right. But that just hasn't happened yet. And I always listen with an open mind, Wayne, I hope you get your voice back. When you do, just speak up. Okay. All right. We are closing in on time here.
By the way, another bad thing that's going on today, which I haven't mentioned, is Intel, which, is the big daddy of them all. It's still a very important company,
sure,
even though it's kind of, the shine of Intel has been kind of taken up by NVIDIA and other high-flying tech stocks. But Intel is down a couple of bucks today, and it's kind of gapped down, and that is something to be careful of, because that could imply that the SOX, by the way, the SOX, even though it's up today, has not made a new high. That is a very critical divergence going on that is probably going unnoticed by most people. And I think the FAS also, which is the financials, have also not made a new high. So, and I don't think Apple has either. Apple has not made a new high, and it's going down as well. So you have to be very, very careful. This is a classic point, a suck and move. It's buying the market. You can't buy, buying new highs today, possibly with the exception of NVIDIA and a few other high flyers, is a pretty dangerous game. It's much better to, we did say, if you remember in our general commentary, we sort of said, that the last week of the year would be a kind of a flat to down, kind of a pullback, if you like, prior to that would set the market up for a rally in the new year. That has so far happened, but we could, if we stopped going up today, if this was the high and the next couple of days are down, that possibly could tell us that the way the year is going to shape up, which means, we have a blast upwards in the first half of the year, and then we're down in the last half of the year for 2018, and that would be the inverse of a possible huge up move in gold and silver for the whole year, possibly, because the second half of the year, if the economy's on fire, which I believe it will be, the market doesn't necessarily go up when the economy's on fire. It actually could start going down, in the same way as the stock market went up for several years before it actually started to grow and recover from 2009, the market anticipates the top, ahead of time. And when the top is delivered, i.e. the economy delivers, I mean, if we start getting 4, 5, 6% growth, that could be bad for stocks. And look at us now. We're losing. Apple is dragging the market down today, and we're definitely coming off pretty fast here. So that's why I've been, raising the stops on these markets all day since the opening to make sure that we catch the top if there is one. So, and right now the mid cap is bordering on negative here, and so is the TNA, and there is divergence going on, and the fact that the Dow is not cutting it today is a problem too.
This Dow went from, these are this week's zones. I just updated them on the chart here. We went from zone to zone, back down to the zone, back up to the zone, and we're headed back down to the zone.
Yeah.
That's why some of our partners, guys, just trade the zones.
Well, the zones, they're fantastic. They definitely are, a tremendous help. And
it's like painting the gridiron on a football field. You got the 50-yard line, the 40-yard line. I mean, it's just you kind of know where the market's headed. So, anyway. And there's a free trial available to it's actually not a free trial, but it's a $1 trial to anyone that wants to get them for a week. No, I'm sorry. I'm thinking about the trade alerts. That's not the zones. The zones, we don't give them away to anybody.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, no, I take that back. If you take the Concierge Trade Alert trial for $1, you do get the zones for a week, and you get access to the live training room in the morning. Go ahead, John.
Okay. Listen, I probably have to sign off because
I've
got. Okay.
All right.
Thanks very much indeed.
Okay. Bye-bye.
All the best. Bye-bye.
Okay, guys. We covered a lot of ground today. Let me kill John's mic. There we go, so he can take his phone call. We didn't get a chance to talk about fibs in depth today, and Mike B, who wanted to talk about them, has already gone, and so I hopefully he'll remind me first thing tomorrow, and we'll do that. Michael P, you had typed in, Dwayne, you could use the chart on the Daniels Trading platform. And I sent a message back to you, and you may not have seen it. Is that for the spot price or just the futures contract? Because when we look at this chart on our website, cryptodailyinfo.com, these are spot prices, these aren't futures. Now, I know that the CME created a spot index. If you're still here, and if you could give me that symbol, I don't know if it'll let me open another tab or not. Let me try it. Is it going to tell me I overshot my BTCF8? See, those are futures. How do I get... So I've already got a BTCF8 over here. Yeah, I'll ask this to anybody. Does Daniels Trading have a symbol for the BTC Bitcoin spot price? Okay, this is daily here. And I guess that's all I can scrunch it up. December 19th, December 8th. Yeah, that was the first trading day. Immediately had a bearish cross. Price has yet to pull back to the BBC on the daily chart. And when it does pull back, which it looks like it's trying to do, we would expect a down leg potentially to at least potentially to this previous low. Now, It doesn't have to happen. It could just crank right through there. That's why we wait for it to touch. And then the next candle gives us a down close. Then we sell the open of the next close, of the next open, minus its hit. Now, we can, of course, come off a daily, and because markets are fractal in nature, it all amounts to okay, we can shrink this up. We can Scooby-Dooby-Doo it. Okay. Bullish cross, price pulled away, price pulled back to physically touch. Up close by the open of the next candle, plus one tick. You didn't get a lot out of that. And on the hourly, the potential for a bearish cross here is in the making, but if it doesn't, that's the thing. If it doesn't give a trade set up on the short side, then we do go substantially higher, I believe. And how high is that? Well, let's take a look. Use a little Fibonacci math. Boom. So for the futures, if this holds right here, if this holds and we start to move higher, obviously we got to take out this right here. Okay. But these are numbers for the futures contract on the upside that are doable. So, okay, remember we did fibs on the last leg up on the S&P, okay? And we said a good place for it to find support would be at the 38% retracement, where I drew the circle. Because you see these candles here? Sellers tried to drive it down, couldn't do it. Then we had an up candle, 30-minute candle. Then sellers tried to drive it down again, couldn't do it. And so if those people with a commitment to buy are still waiting right here below the 38, they could come in before the 38, okay? Because they don't want to miss out, because they know the next run is going to probably take us up to that 14 to 20 area. So keep an eye on that. Hey guys, we've gone over, so that's going to, we've come a long way, baby. Bitcoin block 0 was born 9 years ago today. Ain't that something? Come a long way, baby. All right. I think we're going to call that a day, except for our good word for the day. Then we'll call it a day. Say yes to God. Isaiah 6:8. Then I said, here I am, send me. I remember back in 1996 when I returned to the God of Abraham, Isaac, and my grandmother, that in church when they would sing this particular praise and worship song, there's a modern version, I would like stand up on the pew and say, send me. Next thing I knew, be careful what you say when you're talking to God, because the next thing I knew I was in Africa, you know, building an orphanage. But anyway, yeah, that was my thing. That was my shtick on Sunday mornings when they would do that song. I would stand up on my pew and scream, send me, you know. I was a young man. Had more energy than brains sometimes. But anyway, it's a powerful scripture. If you haven't read it, go read it. Train fills up the temple. You know the song. William Carey is referred to as the father of modern missions. But the number of his accomplishments in India were almost equaled by the number of obstacles he overcame just to get there. He was, see, I didn't have any obstacles getting to Africa. It was like this strong wind blew through town, and the next thing I knew, I'm standing on the African plain, eyeballing a gazelle or a zebra. He was told, William Carey was told by a group of ministers, if God wants to save the heathen, young man, he will do it without your help or ours. Really? Is that what he said? Meant when he told the disciples to go into the world and make disciples of men? Huh. Okay. Good thing William Carey didn't buy into that. Carey was not a career missionary. He was a young Englishman in poor health with a pregnant wife and small children. He was just like the rest of us, trying to make ends meet and keep life together. But he had something else, a burning question he could not escape. That question: who will reach the lost in India if I don't go? Looking back later, Carey realized that the challenges he overcame at home were what qualified him to succeed in his God-given assignment abroad. The same thing happened to Isaiah the prophet. In Isaiah 6:8-9, I heard the voice of the Lord saying, "Whom shall I send, and who will go for us?" Then I said, "Here I am, send me." Now, I got to tell you, after standing up on my bench and their pew and saying, "Send me," so many Sundays, one morning during the Constitution, I was reading Isaiah, and I came across that scripture, and even though I'd read the Bible several times, I didn't understand that those lyrics from that song were verbatim out of the King James. And I was like, well, I almost fell off the throne, if you know what I mean. True story. TMI? Okay. Here I am, send me. And he said, go and tell this people. Isaiah 6:8-9. But before Isaiah was qualified to go, he needed a life-changing encounter with God. Then one of the seraphim flew to me, having in his hand a live coal which he had taken with the tongs from the altar, and he touched my mouth with it and said, "Behold, this has touched your lips. Your iniquity is taken away, and your sin is purged." That part's not exactly verbatim in the song. So, I said all that to say this. Do you sense God preparing you and getting ready to send you somewhere, anywhere? It might not be to India or even to Africa. It might be down the street 3 doors to check in on the widow and the orphan. What? We got no widows and orphans on our street. Really? You got no single moms? Because see, if Dad didn't fulfill his job and Dad up and left, or something bad happened to Dad, based on the biblical definition, a woman, a mother without a husband is a widow. A child without a father figure in the home, an orphan. So if God's calling you to work with widows and orphans, you might want to get a latitude and longitude, because it might not even cost the price of a plane ticket. You know what I'm saying? Short walk down the street. If there is no strong male influence in that child's life, he will fall victim to his peers, to hoodlums, to gangsters, or has the potential, statistically speaking, a very high potential. Daniel says, always blaming on the man is a mistake. Daniel, can you extrapolate that for me? Bob says, flurry of market movement in the last 10 minutes. I wonder what up. Well, which market had a flurry? We got to pull back to the 38. No, the 24. We never got to the 38. 24 is trying to hold. Which market, Bob, are you referring to? Let's walk them down. Beans started with a stop out, then ran up 3 points, and now it's trying to run up 3 points again. No trigger on the short side. NQ just rocked. That's a $1,200 per contract move. Let's $335 move, back below the trigger. Off we go again, no short trigger. The Dow gave us 59 points, and then it gave us another 59 points, and now it's hanging out between the zones. Now remember, we never get out at the swing high or swing low. Why? Because we trail our stop. Okay, well, what does that mean? Well, what it means is that if you trail your stop, you're going to always leave a little something on the table. So this first move in bonds today was good for 10 ticks at 31.25 per tick. Back below the trigger, up we go again. This one was good for 13 ticks. Back below the trigger, up we go again for 9 ticks. No, I guess that'd be 10-2. So same as this one. See that? Important prices, important areas are almost always tested. Okay, all right, Dan responded. Men get kicked out of houses for no reason at all by women and do the best they can to see the kids. Okay, Daniel, I will go with you, and I will agree that there are cases where that happens. Sometimes the wife leaves, you know, and the husband is left with the kids. So, yes, and it sounds to me like somebody speaking from personal experience. I don't need you to go into any details, but yes, there are a lot of fathers out there who fight for their right to have custody of their kids because they think it's in the kids' best interest. Maybe the mother's not really fit to be in control of the children or have custody. However, as we all know, society and the courts always tend to lean on the side of the mother. Okay? Even if she maybe got busted, had some kind of a drug problem, if she goes to the certain classes and whatnot, because, you know, my son, he was brought to us at 4 years old. At 6 years old, mom got out of jail, took a couple of classes, and bang, they put him back. We're like, are you out of your mind? You told us we were going to adopt this child. Well, yeah, but mom, you know, she's all cleaned up now. And so, all right. So we bought him a condo so we could keep an eye on everything. We brought Gabe over to our house every weekend so I could spend time with him, take him to church on Sunday. I didn't want him to lose that connection. And then the wheels came off the bus about 3 years later, and we get the call. Yeah, well, this time we need you to take Gabe and his sister, little sister. Okay. And they said, this time we're not going to jerk the carpet out from under you. You know, the adoption will move forward. And I said, okay. So there are times when the mother, and I got to give credit to the mother. She's been out and free for a number of years, and she hasn't called, hasn't attempted to contact us. We live at the same address, have the same phone number since, well, I've had the same phone number since 1996, but my point being is, you're right, Dan. Dan's right. And so to all the fathers out there who love their kids and there's a court or some other thing standing between you and your kids, you know, fight for your rights. Absolutely. Because that's what I was doing, because I saw myself as Gabe's father. And to have him snatched out of my house and put in a place that I knew was not good for him. You know, when he would come over, when I'd pick him up after school on Fridays to bring him to our house for the weekend, I'd say, son, when's the last time you took a shower? And often he would tell me, last weekend at your house. Like that was normal. See, he was only about 7 or 8, and you know, little boys aren't real big on climbing in the shower. If you don't make them, they kind of won't. So anyway, that's enough. I don't want to cast any aspersions on anybody. So I'll do this. Oh man, look at gold. Is that the flurry you're talking about there, BZ? Hi, yi, yi. What was our short trigger on gold? 13.18. Okay, which we caught. We never triggered on the long side. So, okay. Remember what I just said about important prices, important areas, almost always tested? Well, here's a fine example of that. I've been saying that every day for years, and it continues to hold true. Boom, boom, boom. Now this move down, goodness gracious, that's $1,000 per contract move in just over 30 minutes. And you might very well still be in it because there's no reason to be out of it, as they say. All right, guys, I gotta go. Much to do about a lot. It's been a great show. I told you yesterday that I was out of whack. But I think we managed to pull it off today. Hope you learned something. If you have questions, support@cfrn.net. If you want to take the free trial, go to apply.cfrn.net. If you've already taken the trial and you want to become a partner, call us, 949-423-6464. We'll send you down to get your physical and your haircut, and then after that, you'll be in the Army too. The CFRN, Christian Trader Army. Just teasing, but we would love to have you. Thanks so much for tuning in. Whoever you are, wherever you are, may God continue to richly bless you with His mercy and with His grace. And I'll see you at the bell.
Remember this, there is no greater return on investment than to see a human life changed and given hope. As always, pray hard and trade safe. Any financial information discussed on this show is simply the opinion of our host, Dwayne Reeves, his co-hosts, and guests. To learn more about trading Emini Futures or to take a 1-week free trial in our live trading room, call 1-866-928-3310. 866-928-3310. Information discussed on this radio program should not be construed as a recommendation to buy or sell any security. Always do your own due diligence and consult with a licensed securities broker or financial planner before making any investment decision.